Hello, welcome to the second lecture in pointer series. In this lecture, we will be discussing one of the applications of the pointers is achieving call by reference in C. Let us quickly recap what we discussed in the last lecture. We had discussed what is a pointer. Pointer is a special type of variable which stores the address of another variable. And we had also discussed two important operators called address of operator and a dereferencing operator. Address of operator is an ampersand followed by variable to get the starting address of the memory allocated to that variable, and a dereferencing operator is star followed by a pointer which gives you value at the address stored in the pointer. So it is indirectly referring to the value of the variable, and we will see that how those dereferencing and a memory address are useful in achieving call by reference in this lecture. Okay, so first we start with the default parameter passing mechanism in C, that is call by value, and what are all the issues with a call by value, and then followed by how can we achieve a call by reference by passing a address and by using pointers. And we will see some examples swapping two values, and also another example of modifying a multiple values with a function. Okay, so what is when you pass a values to a function, a copy of the values are made in the function, and whatever the changes that are made on those will not be affected on the original variables in the calling scope. So now the call by value is suitable for those functions, suppose something like f of x equal to x square, which does not require x to change, and it is not suitable for the functions like a function which takes x and increment by 10 or swapping two values. So we will see an example now. Okay, so this is an example. We had written a function called increment, and it should take a number, and this function increments number by 10, and we are passing here my value to this increment function, and what we are expecting is after the execution of this function, my value should increment by 10, but it is not going to happen. The reason is it is call by value. The value of my value is copied into num. A separate copy is created for this, and only num is changed here, and it will not have any impact on my value. So we can see the execution here. So you can see after the function call and before the function call, the my value remains 5. So for these kind of functions, changing the value of the original value inside a function, for this kind of requirement, we should not use call by value. We should use call by reference. But how to achieve that call by reference is by using pointers. So let us understand how one can achieve that call by reference. So Now, to achieve this call by reference, first instead of passing a value, you pass memory address of those variables. So that is, instead of passing x, we should pass address of x, that is %x. And inside the function, as we know that to access the variable indirectly by using a pointer, we will use dereferencing. So if we use dereferencing operator, we can modify the value of that variable indirectly. Okay. So now we will see an example. So see an example, after that we will discuss this. Call the reference. So here we have a function called swap, which takes two arguments, x and y, both are of pointers. So as we had discussed, when you want to change the values, you should pass the address. That's why you are passing address of A and the address of B. Now, so the value which can store the memory address is pointer variable. That's why we should use pointers as the arguments of this function. So that's why we have int star x and star y. Now whenever we say temp equal to star x, star means dereferencing. So value at the address stored in x. In x we have address of A. That means indirectly we are referring to the value of A. So here also when we say star x, we are saying value of A. Value of A is equal to value of B. That means we are indirectly modifying the value of A. Whatever the value that is there in B, we are copying into A. Similarly, whatever the value that is there in temp, copied into B. So with the dereferencing, we are indirectly accessing the values of A and B, and then we are modifying. When the dereferencing is used, dereferencing operator is used in the left hand side of the assignment, it actually modifies. So we can see that how works. So call by reference. Now, so before the function call, A is 5 and 10, and after the function call, A is 10 and 5. So this is how one can achieve the call by reference in C. So there are two important points. First one is, we should not pass the values, we should pass the addresses. The second is, we should use dereferencing operator to modify. So we can see this the same function that we had discussed before, like void increment by 10. So for this we should use int star x. So we will use star x equal to star x plus. So suppose we are using some t equal to 20. And when you are passing here increment by 10, we should pass the address of D. And we can check after the function call what is the value of T. Value before increment, you can check. So same call by reference. You can see value before increment 20 and value after increment 30. this is how call by reference works. So the main thing is we have to pass an address and we should use a dereferencing operator to indirectly access the value and then modify. Okay. So, and this is an example that we had discussed already. Now, so suppose as we know that it's like a mathematical definition of a function. Function can return only one value. But how can we say that suppose we have defined a function which computes multiple values, and how to return those multiple values, or how to achieve thing like a function returning a multiple values. So that can be achieved by using a call by reference again. So an example here, suppose we are computing addition and multiplication of two numbers. So now what we do is, for this calculate function, now the total sum and the total product needs to be modified. So we have to pass the address, and whatever the changes that are made, that is whatever the calculation that are made in the calculate function, will be indirectly stored into this total sum and total product. This is how one can achieve modifying multiple values or returning multiple values through a function. Okay, so point here is, even when we are passing an address also, it is call by value mechanism only, but with a dereferencing we are indirectly accessing the values of those variables or values of original variables. Okay, so the default parameter passing mechanism in C is call by value. It simply copies, and whatever the changes that you made in the callee will not be impacted on the caller or original variables. If you want, then we should use call by reference. But how to achieve call by reference in C? We have to use we have to pass addresses, and then we have to use a dereferencing to indirectly access. Okay, so and in the next lecture we will be discussing how can we iterate through arrays by using pointers and a pointer arithmetic, and a confusion between star clarity and common confusion between star plus PTR and a plus star PTR. Thank you.